Hello, everyone, and welcome to LinkedIn Live and our Agile Procurement Insights research series. I am Gretchen Eischen. I am the Global Vice President and Head of Marketing for SAP's Procurement Solutions, SAP Ariba, and SAP Fieldglass. I am delighted to welcome you to our series again. If you joined us for our past two episodes, then you know that last year during the height of global supply chain disruption, we really wanted to understand what procurement and supply chain professionals were going through and how they were weathering the storm. We wanted to understand whether digital transformation was a key component of success and survival. And so we partnered with Oxford Economics to conduct a research survey of 1,000 executives in procurement and supply chain. We talked with folks from 14 industries, 23 countries, a third of whom were in the C-suite. I hope you had a chance to watch our last two sessions where we explored how Agile Procurement Insights research was put together, and we had the chance to dig deeper on external workforce trends. If you didn't, you can find both on SAP Ariba's page and watch them on demand. Today, I am extremely honored to be joined by Patricia Miller, Managing Director for Digital Transformation and Global Delivery, Procurement Plus at Accenture, as well as Tamara Braun, former Chief Purchasing Officer and now Chief Customer Officer at SAP's Procurement Solutions. Despite the ongoing turbulence that we have seen in the last year, businesses are now taking steps towards recovery. And they are moving towards a more resilient future. And flexibility, visibility, these are key elements that are crucial to success in today's environment. In our research, we found that about 10% of the executives in our survey shone out the others in their approach to process automation, data-driven decision-making, use of technology and influencing the business, and managing the procurement function overall. In today's session, we're going to be talking about these leaders, organizations like Accenture that embrace digital transformation. Their stronger reliance on data, analytics, automation help businesses to make better informed decisions and respond faster to emerging risks. Today, we're also going to dig into best practices for those of you in the audience who may be just starting out on this journey. And I encourage you to chat with us in today's session. We have experts on standby who can answer any of your questions in the chat. So let's get started. Tricia, Tamara, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about our Agile Procurement Insights research. Welcome.
Hi, Gretchen. Thanks for the introduction. Very, very nice. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, more than happy to be here to discuss this. I think it's a really important topic. And I think it's a really pivotal time, so excited to participate in the conversation.
Superb, thank you. Well, let's dig in. Over the past year, as we talked about, we have clearly seen that procurement and supply chain have been taking a position of prominence in the world. These functions are really having a moment in showcasing that they're more than just cost savings. There's real strategic value that these functions are driving for a business. Tamara, let's start with you. Perhaps you could just talk with us a little bit about how you see leaders in this space taking advantage of this and positioning themselves differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it very, very well, Gretchen, when you said that the role is changing, the positioning is changing. When I look back a little bit to the years when I was CPO and the development, what happened, I see that really there is a absolutely shift to be a more strategic organization. This is what we are facing at the moment in supply chains. So from my point of view, it never was as important as today that we have this resilience in the supply chain, that we are mastering these positions very well. And Gretchen, I would say this is not a secret that companies which focus on their digital transformation, companies which are already either in the mid of the transformation or have finalized the transformation, they have a huge benefit and advantage in comparison to other ones.
Absolutely. Interesting to hear you talk about the fact that, this was a trend of acceleration that was already occurring, to the world. I'd love to just actually talk a little bit about technology then. We found that in our research, 90% of the leaders versus about 74% of other executives have supplier management technology today that they've been using to try to drive this visibility, right? You talked about innovation as a need, and visibility is obviously another critical need that has come to the forefront. What else are you seeing? When you think about collaboration, for example, and opportunities there, any examples that you've seen from customers of where collaboration is also critical?
Absolutely, and you really you hit the nail on the head, Gretchen. Especially when you say so, the leaders who are focusing really on that supply chain collaboration. This is really very, very important. Really, it is enabling the companies really to focus on what is happening. So really to see what happens in the supply chain. They have to improve the supply chain collaboration. How can you do it? It is like it is. You can in these times you can only do it with technology. You have really to put the arms around. It is important that you see what is going on in this area, that you are using technologies as well to make your decisions, so that you say, hey, predictive analytics, maybe artificial intelligence, machine learning, all what is out. A lot of leaders are really using already artificial intelligence and machine learning to drive their procurement decisions. Really, that you really bring your company, that you bring your procurement team, that you bring yourself as the chief procurement officer into the position that you say, I can prove my decisions based on this and that market research. And Gretchen, time is over that you have days or weeks for a market research. You need to have it on the fingertip. And this is when you talk about supply chain collaboration. This kicks in, that you say, today, you most probably do not know what you have to source tomorrow. So you need your decision overnight. And even more important, you need a reliable decision overnight. And this you can really drive by incorporating, as I said, artificial intelligence, machine learning, that you have guided sourcing capabilities, which help you really to make your decisions. And again, and sorry to repeat myself, this brings you an amazing competitive advantage.
Absolutely. I mean, those were fantastic examples of how technology is playing a role, a critical role, right? This cannot be done without technology today. The level of visibility, the level of collaboration, the level of innovation to drive these strategic decisions requires technology. Tricia, why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you have seen that come to bear at Accenture? Clearly these themes, technology, innovation, visibility, collaboration, these are themes that are very strongly held within Accenture today. Help us understand a little bit about your digital transformation journey.
Yes, happy to do that. So Accenture, as one of the leading professional services companies in the world, it's absolutely critical that we as internal functions are structured to respond to digital economy and to digital change, digital transformation, essentially. We're very fortunate that we get to use our own teams to do that. So that's a bonus for us. But even in in this instance where we have a single global instance of SAP, single global instance of Ariba, and are now moving to a single global instance of Fieldglass for services spend. We absolutely on that journey identified significant amounts of non-standard processes and workflows. And it's absolutely impossible to actually drive change and standardization if you don't have visibility to those. And so the very beginning of our journey as we started the deployment of those elements is really just digitizing the processes, because through digitizing it, you enable that data, right? Tamara talked about the importance of intelligence and getting data to drive buying decisions, but also just the importance of digitizing your processes so you get data to drive the transformation of those processes. You mentioned in my title that I'm part of Procurement Plus, and that's how we brand ourselves, the team internally, because what we think or aim to achieve is that the traditional procurement, the buy, supply, pay, the things we've been known for in the past, they're not going away, but they are automatable if you standardize and simplify them. And so we as we simplify, standardize, and automate the traditional procurement elements, look at how we move our function to the plus. And in the plus sits all of the elements where we really start to drive value as an organization for our customers. No longer are we a procurement function for procurement, we're a procurement function to help grow Accenture at the bottom line. We do that by bringing innovative suppliers into the market, into our consumers. We do that by helping drive the sustainability agenda that is so important to Accenture at its core. We do that by initiating closed loop spend management. Buying through a digitized channel allows you insights to the spend, and that's where the real intelligence comes from. Using those insights to do your supplier relationship management and to do your supplier relationship management and your buying decisions, right? The guiding of what do we should or shouldn't transact with these suppliers as we continue. We wanted to ensure on this journey that we're best in class. We're using the most and the best of the intelligent experience and are driving the spend to the correct channels, because when you drive spend to the correct channels, you ensure that spend visibility. So we're very lucky our partnership with SAP allows us to work hand in hand to really drive that transformation and leverage the different solutions at the different elements of, or the different layers of what we're trying to do.
That's
I think, yeah, I think a critical part of it, and I, you know, I believe anyone in a role like mine, where I have responsibilities for transformation and now more recently some of the delivery, we need to appreciate that transformation and digital transformation specifically is different from what we did in the past. I think we as functions need to understand that role we play, right? The critical change happens when you take the technology and adopt the technology. In a cloud environment in particular, there's other clients using that technology. Let's look at what best in class is. Let's look at what our peers are doing. Let's adopt the standards on that buy, supply, pay, and then build and enhance and take the improvements that come with the cloud solution so that we can pivot to what those elements that I talked about in the plus.
Yeah, it's a really interesting role for you to own both the digital transformation and global delivery in that manner. And I like what you described about how, you know, making sure that you are enabling the process, but then doing so in a way that drives the insights to make the decisions, and then automating that process as much as possible to make it simpler, to make it easier. That's so critical for leaders to really, you know, for organizations to really think about how leaders like Accenture are doing this today and build their journey to align to that. Truly best in class, really, really exciting to see. I appreciate it, please.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, you know, we're very proud of the journey over the last couple of years, and I'm not proud of where we started, but we were at honestly a couple % catalogs, for example, and 45% of our transactions now on catalog. And in an organization like Accenture, where we don't buy a lot of goods or only goods, that is quite the number. I know it varies depending on the organization you operate in, but it's all about that simplification too. Our users and how our users perceive us is critical to the transformation of procurement. If they think of us as a function who make it hard to buy or hard to get an invoice processed, or the simple things, the traditional procurement things, they won't see us as the value driver that we want to be. And so a huge part of digitization is that frictionless implementation into the part, frictionless solutioning in the process, so that the simple clicks get you the items that they should, the simple approvals ensure that the suppliers paid on time. And then they no longer think of us as back office. They see us as we come to the table as that value partner.
Absolutely. I love that. We often talk about, and within our entire intelligent spend management area, actually, one of our key focus areas is really about, again, how do you simplify and make it autonomous enough that the process can just disappear? We don't have to concentrate time any longer on what that workflow is. It's being done. And I think that's so critical to see the evolution of this within organizations. Okay, so this is such a great conversation. I'm really enjoying this. I want to say, you know, I think it's really important that we start to talk about, you know, some of the behaviors that we are seeing these leaders. Tamara, what could you share with us about what you're seeing in the market today with some of the customers that you were working with in terms of some of these behaviors?
Patricia, thanks a lot for your insights. This is really great. And when you said at a point in time, you have simply to start it. This was really giving me a smile to say, hey, it needs strong leaders who are really brave enough and say, hey, now we are getting started and we are focusing on this transformation. So it was really great. Thanks for sharing your insights from Accenture with us. Yeah, and Gretchen, let me come back to you about behaviors and how does this manifest in the market. When I think about it, it comes back a little bit to what I said at the beginning. So procurement leaders are really outpacing others when it comes to investing, and not only investing, as well in implementing technology. And for example, 99% of leaders, 99% use machine learning and artificial intelligence already to analyze data for decision making, as I said. So this is a real bold number. And this is when you ask me how this is manifesting in the market. This is when you compare it with others, we have only 45%. This is manifesting in the market. Or the procurement leaders, really, they make much greater use of data analytics as before to make spend decision across their organization, independent in which category, independent for what they source. And 70% of the leaders versus 17 of other executives are able to gain a very clear view of overall spend. And now it comes in real time. So really, this is what I said, speed matters. This is very important for us, that you have it on the fingertip. The times are moving faster and faster. And so this is something which is really a behavior, what we can see. And they are really using data which enable them to be proactive. So not only reacting on things, be proactive, driving the things. They will become a strategic contributor to the business, helping the business achieving their goals. Not only. So savings are always very, very important when you are in this area we are all in. But not only focusing on savings, helping the line of business achieving their goals. And these are really behaviors which I see becoming more and more important.
Absolutely. I loved that you, of course, brought up the concept of agility. Certainly, we have seen more and more, even in the Suez Canal example, minute by minute, that was driving different decisions in a business based on the impact that was going to have down the road in the supply chain. Just incredible to really witness that and understand the impact.
Yeah, and on the one hand side, Gretchen, we hear this always from the news, we watch this, but when you are then in a customer dialogue and you have a customer in front of you who says, really, I have to skip a meeting because my supply chain is so disrupted because of this event, what happened, then it becomes real. And then you see really in which good position they are, that they could identify already very, very early what happens, how this is really then influencing their entire supply chain, their production. And there you see how important technology is.
It is interesting when we think of the traditional role versus that new role of the procurement team. That buy, supply, pay was really about compliance, control, and risk management. Still very important, as we've talked about. But the procurement team of the future really have to be forward-looking. We have to anticipate not every problem. We can't do that, but we do have to anticipate market trends and how that's going to influence the organization's buying decisions. I think you mentioned, Tamara, the numbers of the percentages of organizations that are looking at contingent workforce management. I think that's a great example of a trend that has to be monitored closely. Again, Accenture operates in people, so it's something that we've been focused on for years. But as organizations now deal with what's a very major shift in workforce and people's preferences for work, more and more of this is going to move from HR and permanent employees to this gig economy or this service-based delivery. And so procurement needs to anticipate that element, that purchasing element of people. Regardless of your size of organization, your portion of spend with temporary people or contingent workforce is going to increase.
Absolutely. And it's contingent workforce. It's also, how do we enable work from home and what's required, from a hardware perspective, all of it, there's so much to really anticipate as we think about the future of work. This is such a phenomenal conversation. And I want to, be sensitive to your time since we're chatting it up here. Patricia, let me come back to you actually, because you had mentioned that it really was just about getting it started, right? So, a few years ago, you weren't in a role where you would have necessarily cast yourself as a leader, but today you are because you started that journey. Can you maybe just, share some guidance and advice with those who are kind of looking up the hill and thinking, I'd like to be a leader, but we don't know where to start?
Yeah, I do like that. Look it up a hill. A long time ago, I had a boss who talked about you can't push the rock up the hill on your own.
That's right.
But I do think people need to recognize it as a journey. That's a critical part of it. Sometimes when you look at what has to be done, it's so great that it's actually difficult to figure out where to start. But you've got to chart your journey, and then you've got to portion it out into bite-sized pieces. Again, this mindset of old where everything is a major program and we're going to get millions and millions and millions or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, right, depending on the organization, to make that change. That doesn't work anymore. Know what you want to do and start small, right? Know what you want to do, start small, show value, communicate the value, and then get the stakeholder investment. So really being bold and believing in the elements that need to be done. And even when you haven't got major stakeholder sponsorship, finding the people that will support it, start small, and then take the time to prove it out. That to me is one of the critical elements. Another piece, and I cannot speak strongly enough to this, my role is in procurement. I'm not part of the IT organization, but my partnership with our IT organization is critical to the success. Every single program that we've delivered, major technology program that's been under our the procurement remit, be it Ariba or Fieldglass or the smaller programs that we drive, what is the technical component to make it successful, and then what's the business change? If we go back to Ariba a couple of years ago, I had a team obviously dealing with the technology. I had a team focused on change management, traditional change management, but then I also had a team really looking at the transition of our suppliers into the Ariba network and the transition of that spend into the catalog. Those things aren't going to happen if we just deploy the technology and we don't focus on that business change. And it's the exact same now with Fieldglass. Who is on the ground buying that? Because I expect them to change, not just to go from doing this to this, but I expect them to understand why that changes. And I expect their business leaders to convey the importance of that. Now, I can't expect that without communicating, right? That goes back to me selling these changes in the right way. But as we sell them in the right way, then those people have to be on the bus with us, essentially, as we drive that change. And that part of it, seeing technology as a powerful enabler to the change that we own driving, is where real success is delivered.
Well, that is an incredible roadmap for digital transformation, from, starting with making sure that you have the plan, ensuring that, communications is a strong piece of your plan, bringing the right partners along on the journey, and really, again, keeping your eye at that apex of the mountain and the strategic outcomes that you're trying to drive. That's really phenomenal. Tamara, how about you? You're of course working with our SAP Procurement Solutions customers every day. Maybe just talk us through a little bit about what you're seeing they are doing to drive value in their organizations.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gretchen, for this question. And I was again, Patricia, I was smiling when you said, hey, even I'm not in IT, I really partner up with them. And this, Gretchen, is really one of the topics which I say it's so critical for bringing value to the organizations, that you partner throughout the business, that you are helping to drive higher adoption of the new processes and technologies. Because the one thing is that you get these new technologies and processes in, but the people need to use it. And very often you cannot afford this on your own. You have really to partner. And thanks, Patricia, that you mentioned this here as well, because this is one value I see definitely, as well as embracing data-driven decision making and make substantial investments, therefore, in, once again, artificial intelligence, machine learning, or that you really, as Patricia mentioned it as well, that you invest in the digital transformation to drive much better business results. Not only that you say, I have a digital roadmap, hey, super, I can show you that you have a clear value and a clear driver that you say, hey, this is bringing better business results. It avoids really to make one-off investments or manual operations. This is adding value. And it is really that leaders are focusing, and Patricia, you mentioned it as well, focusing on change management, and adaptation. And this is a key success factor. And last not least, and Gretchen, let me add this as well. It is not only technology, but it's really procurement with purpose, that you have really a look into your supply chain, that you say, I drive, and Patricia, you mentioned it, I drive a sustainable agenda. I focus on diverse supply chain. I focus on really social entrepreneurs in my supply chain. I take care of carbon footprint. I take care of circular economy. So all these things really shall come together, and all these things can help to drive significant value to the organization, from my point of view.
Could not agree more. I absolutely. I mean, the protection of that small vendor, be it diverse, sustainable, future thinking, innovative, whatever it might be, is a critical part of our role. And the value we, again, when we move past the old, the value that we really can drive to an organization. And it is a real differentiator.
Absolutely. And I think that's what true leaders are looking at, right? They are looking at how to ensure that the supply chain is sustainable, that suppliers that we are working with and collaborating with truly are brought into the process and are protected, and that we're making, intelligent, sustainable decisions with the data that we're getting from the technology to drive to the future. That's what leadership is about. Tamara, Tricia, thank you so much, both of you, for participating in this today. I've really enjoyed unpacking the lessons from the leaders with both of you. And to members of our audience, we hope very much that you will join us again in the next couple of weeks when we come back for our next in the series to unpack our conversations on procurement digital transformation. We will look forward to seeing you then. Again, Tamara, Tricia, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate your time. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.